and welcome to 5 Minutes at 5 with myself, Gavin. Today I want to talk about the idea of being anchored, having hope in difficult situations. Yesterday I talked about that I'm reading the book, How the Brain Changes Itself. And the first story talks about a woman named Cheryl. And she has a condition where she lost her balance in her inner ear. And so she constantly felt like she was falling. Even when she was falling on the ground, she would continue to feel like she was falling. It was a hopeless and desperate situation. And for the people that have it's a disastrous feeling of hopelessness. Over time, as she worked with doctors and she found a new way to find balance in her inner ear, actually through sensors on her tongue, she said, "I feel anchored and solid again." There's something really important about being anchored, isn't it? Finding balance in difficult situations. Well, a favourite book of mine is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, the classic tribute to hope from the Holocaust. And I wanted to read you a section from it. I remember a personal experience, almost in tears from the pain. I had terrible sores on my feet from wearing torn shoes. I limped a few kilometres with our long column of men from the camp to our worksite. Very cold, bitter winds struck us. I kept thinking about the endless little problems of my miserable life. What would there be to eat tonight? If a piece of sausage came as an extra ration, should I exchange it for a piece of bread? Should I trade my last cigarette? I became disgusted with the state of affairs which compelled me, daily and hourly, to think of only such trivial things. I focused my thoughts to turn to another subject. Suddenly, I saw myself standing on the platform of a well-lit, warm and pleasant lecture room. In front of me sat an attentive audience of comfortable, upholstered seats. I was giving a lecture on psychology of the concentration camp. All that oppressed me at that moment became objective, seen and described from the remote viewpoint of science. By this method, I succeeded somehow in rising above the situation, above the sufferings of the moment, and I observed them as if they had already passed. The prisoner who had lost faith in the future, his future was doomed. With his loss of belief in the future, he also lost his spiritual hold. He let himself decline and become subject to the mental and physical decay. Viktor Frankl found hope in a desperate situation by thinking external to the situation he was currently in. And we too can find hope in external situations, particularly for those of us who are Christians. We talk about having a hope in Christ Jesus. In Hebrews chapter 6 verse 19 it says, "We have a hope that is an anchor for the soul, firm and secure." As we read the Bible and we look at Jesus, he goes into those places of suffering. He goes into places of temptation. He goes to a place where ultimately he is killed. And yet he looks forward and he constantly reminds his people, look to the Father. I look to my Father, who is God, who is Yahweh, as we talked about in day one. Our hope for Christians are in Christ Jesus. And as we look externally of ourselves and look to him, then we have the capacity to do things like love others and remove ourselves from the moment of disgust and despair. Well, I hope that's helpful. Just remember, you can continue to connect with me on Facebook, Messenger. I can talk to you on Skype. I'd love to continue to connect with you. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I encourage you to subscribe on Facebook, hit the notification so that you know when the next video comes up. I hope today's been helpful. I hope you find peace and that you are anchored as we move forward in these troubling times. Go well. Talk to you soon. Bye.